Once all the numbers come out for everyone, I am fully anticipating that I will be one of the top fundraisers Q1 in the entire House between Democrats and Republicans. And that's because of y'all, the people. So I am looking forward to that.
All right, it's time to weave out the lies so we can get to the facts. As of 2 days ago, everyone's favorite low IQ congressional representative Jasmine Crockett is now under federal investigation. So, the Federal Election Commission, the FEC, has initiated an investigation into Representative Jasmine Crockett regarding donations made to her campaign through none other than ActBlue. And now, if you don't know what ActBlue is, trust me, we're going to unpackage that later in the video. But before that, just check this out and listen to this. Initial reports filed by the FEC are indicating numerous fraudulent campaign donations directed towards none other than Jasmine Crockett. As an example, over 50 individual donations were made under just one person's name. But here's the thing. That person had no idea about those donations. They were all fraudulent. And so what seems to be the case is that ActBlue, this progressive fundraising organization, has been hijacking random people's personal information and then using that information to donate to progressive politicians just like Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, sounds crazy because it is, unfortunately. Check this out. The Congressional House Oversight Committee has actually been trying to get information regarding ActBlue's every suspicious behavior for a long time. Take a look.
Requested from Treasury during the Biden administration to see whether or not there were bank violations called suspicious activity reports against ActBlue. Of course, they never would get back with us. Finally, after the election, they confirmed that there were some. They allowed my staff to go in and view like 10 or 12. They were really bad, but I can say with confidence there are hundreds more. And now with the new Trump administration, we're going to be able to go in there and look at them. I think we'll be able to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah, hundreds more. That's amazing to think about. Have you received a response to your letter last week to the Treasury Department?
Yes, it's a whole different ballgame for me on the Oversight Committee. The Trump administration actually responds to our request for information. Obviously, they're new and getting their, figuring out where the bathrooms are and trying to get a handle over everything. But I'm very confident that the Oversight Committee will be allowed in to view those suspicious activity reports. And the fact that there are so many shows that the banks were suspicious of a lot of activity. And what we believe is what's been reported and suggested on a lot of conservative channels over the years is that this money wasn't actually coming from John Doe and Jane Doe sitting at home donating $10 every week to every Democrat candidate running for every office in America. We always suspected that there was an influx of cash coming in from other ways. And the way ActBlue set up their account, it would be very easy to launder money into there through fake credit card accounts and fake names and things like that. So the banks, by virtue of catching so many violations from so many different banks, which would suggest to me these were credit cards, I think that we're going to be able to find out where the source of a lot of this money was coming from.
So, did you hear that? For years now, ActBlue has been using fraudulent information to donate huge sums of money to progressive politicians. And on top of that, during the Biden era, they just chose not to respond to any congressional inquiries. Very in line with that destructive administration, might I add. So pretty much, they were complicit in all of ActBlue's fraud. And you know why? Because it benefited them. Because ActBlue's fraud benefited the Democrats. Here's the reality. Because the progressive left doesn't have any actual real support from Americans, they have to rely on groups like ActBlue to manufacture the illusion of support by filing a bunch of fraudulent campaign donations. As we now know, pretty much all of the progressive left's support is actually entirely fraudulent and funded by various progressive non-governmental organizations and people like George Soros. And it's funny because Elon Musk actually gave his thoughts on ActBlue just the other day. Watch this.
I will say if ActBlue and Arabella Networks...
ActBlue is a huge scam, next level.
Do you think it's foreign money, Chinese money? Where do you think the money in ActBlue is coming from? How do you figure that out?
Well, it's not coming from from a whole bunch of from a groundswell of public support. Because when individual donors are looked at in ActBlue, they eventually turn out to be like diehard Republicans,
Right.
people that have never given money in their life. So you're going to track down a bunch of these people where it says, oh, I gave $16,000. And they're like, I didn't give $16,000. What are you talking about? So,
Well,
I mean,
if those
Republican friends of mine found themselves on the ActBlue list, and they're like, it definitely wasn't me. So that's
if it can actually be shown that they are funding firebombing of Tesla charging stations, that's objectively a criminal act. That is funding terrorist activity, and the statutes make clear that an incendiary device qualifies. So
burning
that's a
things
big
down
deal.
is a terrorist activity.
Yeah. So right now, Elon Musk and the congressional Republicans have reason to believe that ActBlue hasn't just been filing fraudulent donations. They've also allegedly been funding all of these anti-Tesla domestic terror attacks. That's right, all of these domestic terror attacks have actually been directly funded by various radical progressive political action groups exclusively for the purpose of terrorizing anyone that dares to support President Trump or Elon Musk. But here's the good news. Now that President Trump is back in the White House, the congressional Republicans can actually start investigating all of this, which means it's only a matter of time before all of these radical progressives start getting held accountable. And as we mentioned earlier, the federal investigations are already underway. But anyway, back to ghetto Congresswoman Crock of Crap. I mean, I have to say, when your political campaign is caught accepting illicit donations from the very same political action group that's been funding domestic terrorist attacks, well, let's just say that that's not a very good look. And you know what? Now that these federal investigations are actually starting to go out, between you and me, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing various other members of the progressive left getting put under the microscope. Because let's just say, I have a feeling that the entire progressive apparatus is rotten from head to toe. Whether they're violating federal campaign laws by making fraudulent donations to progressive politicians like Jasmine Crockett, or literally blowing up Tesla dealerships, these people have got to be stopped.
Don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you found it informative. Hell, even share it with your family and friends. And let's talk about it in the comments here on Facts Only.